Like many of you, I grew up largely on Disney animated movies. Films like Aladdin, Lion King, and Beauty and the Beast were all in constant rotation in my household. But with the passing of time, it feels like a few Disney movies have been forgotten a bit, and I know that it's popular to hate on Disney nowadays, in part for good reason, but there's certainly quality and value to be found in past Disney films. And there's one movie in particular that may have been forgotten by time, but will always stick with me, and Dinosaur is this forgotten Disney classic. Upon rewatching Dinosaur, the big thing that immediately stuck out to me was the fact that the movie wasn't afraid to have real consequences. It's not uncommon for movies that have a younger target audience to shy away from death, or at the very least not show any on screen, but right from the very first scene of Dinosaur, we are confronted with the Carnotaur eating a herbivore, and this sense of danger is something that this movie has every single step of the way. Whether it's in the form of the menacing Carnotaurs, the absolutely terrifying meteor shower, or the mini velociraptors and other scavengers eating the stragglers from the herd, there's danger and obstacles to overcome for the entirety of Aladar's story, and I really appreciate that the film goes to such lengths to really establish what is at stake. The entire film is a life or death struggle, and while yes, there's plenty of comic relief moments and other things meant to appeal to children, I respect that the movie sticks to this core concept. Also at the core of this film is a simple yet complex thematic struggle, and yes, you might be thinking to yourself that simple and complex are opposites of each other, so how could this movie's thematic struggle be both? But just because something is a simple or approachable concept doesn't mean that it can't also have deep meaning. And the heart of this film is the ideological conflict between Aladar and Crone. You see, Crone is a bit of a hard ass. Crone views the older and slower dinosaurs that get left behind as not being worthy of making it to the nesting grounds, whereas Aladar befriends the dinosaurs bringing up the rear and sees value in numbers. Aladar views every dinosaur in the herd as an asset because the more of them there are, the better chance there is of making it through their journey. We even see Crone show no emotion after realizing that his brother Bruton might have died, after Crone sent him out as a scout. But after splitting from the main group, Aladar and his ragtag group of friends eventually stumble upon a heavily injured Bruton, and rather than just leaving him to die, Aladar and crew help him and try to save him. You see, Bruton started the film with essentially the same exact mindset as his brother Crone, but through interacting with Aladar, we get to see Aladar fundamentally change Bruton, to the point that Bruton is willing to die holding off the Carnotaurs, just so Aladar and his ideology can survive. And when Aladar and his ragtag band of misfit dinosaurs finally get to the end of the cave, thanks to the heroic sacrifice of Bruton, well, they reach a dead end. They know the nesting grounds are just on the other side, but there's a seemingly immovable pile of rock separating them from their destination. And this brings Aladar to his breaking point, where he's just about to give up on his ideology as their plan ultimately failed. But just when all hope seemed to be lost, this group of misfit dinosaurs, who Crone thought weren't worthy of making it to the nesting grounds, all work together to slowly but surely break down the wall of boulders and manage to get to the nesting grounds first. Later in the film, after Aladar goes back for the rest of the herd, who had taken an alternative path, we see Aladar's strength in numbers philosophy succeed yet again, as he and the entire herd manage to fend off the last remaining Carnotaur by sticking together and creating a unified front. And another thing that has always stuck out to me about this film is that both Crone and Bruton die. In most children's films, these characters would have been spared and forced to see the error of their ways, but I really respect that this film symbolizes the death of their outdated ideology with the death of their characters, which also harkens back to the stakes that the film establishes, as the death of prominent figures certainly makes just how dangerous the journey was extremely clear. And I think this is a beautiful message to have in a movie for kids, because everyone does have something to offer. And if you think someone doesn't just based off of your initial assessment of them, then you, like Crone, have an outdated mindset that should go extinct. Now to get to the big thing I've seen people pan this film for. Yes, you can tell this movie was made in the year 2000. The actual real backgrounds have aged well, but there's certainly shots of the animated characters, especially when they're in motion, that have not aged super well. though I do think some people exaggerate how poorly it aged. But in general, some people do believe that because technology advances so fast, that older animated films like Dinosaur are not worth the watch, since there's newer, better looking films out there. But in my opinion, that's the equivalent of having the same mindset as Crone. I think there's value to be had even in the back of the herd, because while yes, the CGI can be shoddy at times, this is a kids movie that has a great thematic story to tell, real stakes, and plenty for adults to enjoy as well. And while newer films may visually look better, not many children's movies coming out these days can boast all of these accolades. So yes, my kids will be watching movies that I grew up on, as well as modern films, because stories like these are too precious to leave in the past and to let die. And the brevity of Dinosaur is also incredible. It feels like movies just keep getting longer and longer on average, so to have a film that's just about an hour and 15 minutes long without credits, but yet still feels like a complete story, is an impressive feat. All in all, I believe that Dinosaur has all the pieces needed to be a Disney classic. You have an engaging yet straightforward plot, underscored by constant imminent danger, and some of the most menacing Disney villains in the Carnotaurs, who are perhaps even more terrifying because they're some of the only characters who don't speak. There's just something really primal and intimidating whenever they appear. Add to all of this a great message about how everyone, even the ones who are seemingly getting left behind, have something of value to provide. And well, I think you have one of the best animated Disney films hands down. Am I being a little biased just because I had a VHS of this movie on repeat when I was a kid? Perhaps. But I do firmly believe that this is a Disney film worth watching, and the fact that it's been forgotten a bit as time passes is truly tragic. If you enjoyed this analysis of Dinosaur, a forgotten Disney classic, please consider dropping a like or subscribing. And remember, this is just my opinion, so if you agree, disagree, or just have some strong dinosaur or Disney related thoughts, as always, I'd love to hear them in the comments.